You know that feeling when you finally walk away from someone who drained every ounce of your peace, and instead of relief, all you feel is guilt. That's not your soul punishing you. That's your healing being tested. Let's talk about that invisible heaviness, the guilt that creeps in when you choose yourself over chaos, the guilt that whispers, maybe I was too harsh, or maybe I gave up too soon. It's the emotional echo left behind when you cut ties with someone who once felt like home but treated you like a hotel, only showing up when they needed a place to rest. What we often forget is that ending a toxic connection doesn't make you cruel. It makes you courageous. You're not abandoning someone, you're reclaiming yourself. But the mind loves to play its tricks. It replays the good memories, the laughter, the warmth, and conveniently edits out the pain, the manipulation, the constant walking on eggshells. That's what guilt feeds on, selective memory. You can't heal in the same place that hurt you. You can't breathe freely when your air depends on someone else's approval. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for both of you is to walk away, not with hatred, not with anger, but with self-respect. The truth is, guilt often masks grief for the version of that person you hoped they'd be. But healing begins when you stop confusing guilt with responsibility. You're not responsible for fixing someone who refuses to see their own cracks. You're responsible for honoring the wholeness within you. So today, as we dive deeper, remember this. You didn't end something wrong. You ended something that was ending you. Have you ever noticed how love can quietly transform into obligation? You start by caring deeply, showing up, forgiving, understanding, but somewhere along the line, your giving turns into a duty instead of a choice. You stop asking, is this love healthy for me? And start whispering, I can't just leave, they need me. That's how guilt sneaks in, dressed as compassion. It convinces you that walking away makes you heartless. It tells you that staying, even when you're breaking, is the noble thing to do. But let me tell you this, love that demands your suffering isn't love, it's control wearing love's mask. There's a painful truth we don't talk about enough. Sometimes the most toxic connections aren't with strangers or enemies, they're with the people we once trusted the most. The ones who know exactly which words can make you stay, which tears can make you doubt yourself, and which memories can keep you tethered. You convince yourself that maybe you owe them another chance. Maybe if you love them harder, they'll finally love you right. But love doesn't work like that. Healthy love doesn't beg you to sacrifice your peace to prove your loyalty. It doesn't require you to shrink so someone else can feel big. Walking away from that kind of love doesn't make you unkind. It makes you awake. You're not rejecting love. You're rejecting pain disguised as love. And yes, guilt will follow you like a shadow for a while. It will whisper that you abandoned someone. But in reality, you simply stopped abandoning yourself. This is the beginning of healing, recognizing that your love is sacred and it deserves to be met, not drained. You didn't let them down. You simply stop letting yourself down. There's a war that begins the moment you walk away, a silent, exhausting battle between your heart and your mind. Your heart says, maybe I overreacted. Your mind whispers, no, remember the pain. And in that tug of war, guilt becomes the rope that pulls you back toward what broke you. You start replaying every conversation, every fight, every apology. You question if you should have tried harder, stayed longer, forgiven one more time. That's how guilt disguises itself. It doesn't scream, it softly whispers, what if? And that what if keeps you chained in memories instead of moving toward healing. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. Your heart isn't weak for missing them. It's human. Missing someone doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. It means you're still detoxing from an emotional attachment that used to define your comfort zone. You see, toxic connections condition you to believe that chaos is normal, that peace feels too quiet, and that love always has to hurt a little. So when you finally walk away, silence can feel like punishment instead of freedom. That's not guilt, that's withdrawal. You're breaking free from emotional addiction. Healing begins when you stop arguing with yourself about whether you did the right thing. You did. Choosing peace over pain isn't betrayal, it's bravery. And while your mind replays the good times, reminded of this, the same person who gave you butterflies also gave you sleepless nights. You can love someone and still know they're not good for you. You can care deeply and still choose distance. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. And one day, that war inside you will end, not because you forget them, but because you finally remember yourself. Guilt loves to tell a story. And in that story, You're always the villain. It says you were the one who gave up. You were the one who hurt them. You were the one who walked away when they needed you most. And if you're an empath, that story hits hard because deep down you never wanted to hurt anyone, even those who hurt you. But here's the truth. Toxic people are masters at rewriting history. They'll twist your boundaries into betrayal. From thousands, they'll call your peace punishment. They'll make you believe your self-respect is selfishness. And before you know it, you're apologizing for saving yourself. That's how guilt traps you, by convincing you that choosing yourself makes you unkind. But let's be clear, protecting your peace is an act of cruelty. It's an act of survival. You didn't end the connection out of hate. You ended it out of love for your sanity, your future, your inner calm. They may never understand that. They may paint you as cold, distant, or heartless. But that's okay. You don't owe anyone the version of yourself that has to suffer to keep them comfortable. Your healing doesn't require their approval. And yes, you might still replay their accusations in your head. You changed. You're selfish. You gave up on me. But what if those words are proof that you finally grew beyond the version of yourself they could control? What if selfish really means self-aware? You're not the bad one for walking away. You're the brave one for realizing your worth doesn't depend on someone else's narrative. The real healing begins when you stop defending your decision to people who benefited from your silence. You didn't destroy anything. You simply refused to keep burning to keep someone else warm. No one warns you that walking away comes with grief, not the kind that fades after a few days, the kind that lingers quietly in your chest. You mourn the laughter, the late night talks, the dreams you built together. You mourn not just the person, but the hope that maybe one day they would finally change. You start to realize that grief doesn't only belong to death, it also belongs to endings of people, places, and connections that once felt like home. But here's the hardest part. You're grieving someone who's still alive, someone who can still smile, still text, still pretend nothing happened. And that makes the pain feel endless because closure feels impossible. But this grief, as heavy as it feels, is not your enemy. It's proof that you cared deeply. It's proof that you showed up, loved hard, and gave your best. That pain you feel in your chest, it's the echo of love returning to its rightful owner, you. We tend to think healing means erasing the hurt, but healing actually means making peace with it. It's understanding that missing someone doesn't mean you should go back. It means you're human. You can love someone and still recognize that staying was breaking you. So when the memories hit, when you find yourself missing their voice or smiling at something that once was, don't mistake that for weakness. It's not weakness to feel. It's strength to feel and still choose yourself anyway. Grief will soften over time. One day, it won't feel like drowning. It'll feel like a quiet wave washing over you, reminding you of how far you've come. You'll stop wishing for what was and start being grateful for what you've survived. Because sometimes the deepest healing happens when you finally accept that closure isn't something they give you, it's something you give yourself. There comes a day, quiet, almost unnoticed, when the weight begins to lift. You wake up and realize you didn't think about them first thing in the morning. You don't feel that sting when their name pops up somewhere. The silence that once felt suffocating starts to feel sacred. That's the taste of freedom. It doesn't arrive all at once. It creeps in slowly, disguised as peace. At first it feels strange, because when you've lived in emotional chaos for so long, calm can feel unfamiliar. You find yourself waiting for the storm that never comes. That's when you realize you've finally stepped out of survival mode. This freedom isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet. It's peaceful. It's sitting alone without feeling lonely. It's realizing you no longer need validation from the person who made you question your worth. It's the deep breath you didn't know you were holding for years. And yes, guilt will still visit. It will knock on your heart now and then, whispering, you could have stayed, you could have fixed it. But now you'll have the strength to answer, I already did, I fixed myself. Freedom doesn't mean forgetting the person. It means remembering yourself. It means living without needing permission to feel joy again. It's when you stop walking on emotional eggshells and start walking in confidence. You'll find that the more you heal, the more your energy changes. You'll attract peace instead of drama, love instead of dependency, honesty instead of manipulation. That's the magic of emotional freedom. It doesn't just release you from them. It restores you to you. So when that wave of guilt tries to pull you back, remember, you didn't walk away to hurt them. You walked away to save yourself. And saving yourself was the most loving thing you could ever do. After you've walked away, the hardest part isn't letting them go. It's meeting yourself again. Because when you've spent years revolving around someone else's needs, emotions, and moods, you lose touch with your own. You forget what you like, what you dream about, what peace even feels like. Healing the guilt means learning how to come home to yourself. At first, that silence feels foreign. You may catch yourself reaching for your phone, half expecting a message, a call, an apology that never comes. But what if the silence isn't emptiness? What if it's space for you to rediscover who you are when you're not trying to be enough for someone else? Rebuilding that relationship with yourself means asking, what do I need today? And actually listening to the answer. It means allowing joy without justification. It means giving yourself the compassion you kept giving away. You'll notice small things. Music sounds better, food tastes richer, the air feels lighter. That's not coincidence. That's your nervous system exhaling after years of tension. You're not broken, you're unwinding. And in this rebuilding phase, you'll have moments of doubt. You wonder if you're being too distant, too guarded, too much. But that's just the old conditioning trying to pull you back. The truth is, boundaries don't make you hard, they make you healthy. You're not cold, you're healing. So fall in love with your solitude, take yourself on walks, write letters you'll never send, do the things that remind you that your worth was never meant to be negotiated. Because the most powerful relationship you'll ever have is the one you rebuild with yourself after surviving what tried to break you. You're not who you were before. You're wiser now, softer where it matters, stronger where it counts. Forgiveness is one of the hardest steps in healing, not because they deserve it, but because you do. You see, forgiveness isn't about letting them back into your life. It's about letting yourself out of the emotional prison they left you in. It's the moment you stop rehearsing the pain and start reclaiming your peace. At first, forgiveness feels impossible. How can you forgive someone who never apologized, who twisted the truth, played the victim, or left you with scars they'll never acknowledge? But forgiveness isn't saying what you did was okay. It's saying, I'm no longer letting what you did define me. When you hold on to anger, resentment, or guilt, it's like carrying a burning coal, hoping it will hurt them, but it only burns you. So when you release it, when you choose to forgive, not for them, but for your own healing, you create space for joy to re-enter. You create space for new energy, new people, new peace. Forgiveness is not instant. It's a process. Some days you'll feel light, and others, the old wounds will ache again. That's okay. Healing isn't linear. It's messy and human. But every time you choose peace over revenge, every time you breathe instead of blame, you free yourself a little more. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It reclaims your power over it. It's standing in the mirror and saying, yes, that happened. Yes, it hurt, but it no longer controls me. And that's the real miracle of healing, not pretending it didn't happen, but realizing it no longer dictates who you are becoming. Because once forgiveness takes root, guilt loses its grip. You begin to feel lighter, freer, not because they changed, but because you did. You can finally look back without bitterness and move forward without fear. That's when healing becomes your quiet victory. There's a moment in every healing journey when you stop asking, why did they do this to me? And start asking, why did I allow it for so long? That's not self-blame, that's self-awakening. It's the moment your pain transforms into power. Because you realize that while you can't control what they did, you can control what you tolerate from this point forward. Reclaiming your power isn't loud or vengeful. It doesn't mean proving a point or showing them what they lost. It's quieter than that. It's choosing peace even when chaos calls your name. It's saying no without explanation. It's walking away without the need to be understood. For so long, you may have been the peacemaker, the fixer, the one who held everything together while falling apart inside. But now you're becoming something new, the protector of your energy, the guardian of your boundaries, the keeper of your calm. That's what real empowerment looks like. It's when you stop chasing closure from people who thrive on keeping you confused. It's when you no longer need to be the hero in someone else's story because you're finally the main character in your own. And yes, the guilt still tries to return. Guilt for saying no, for being distant, for not being the same person you once were. But that guilt fades each time you honor your peace. You start realizing that peace isn't selfish, it's sacred. Reclaiming your power also means embracing solitude. It's learning that being alone is not the same as being lonely. It's the space where you grow, evolve, and prepare for the kind of love that doesn't cost your sanity. You no longer owe your energy to people who made you doubt your worth. You no longer owe explanations for choosing peace. Because healing isn't about who you lost. It's about who you found. When you finally let go, you found you. And that's the most powerful thing of all. So here you are, standing at the end of something you once thought you could survive. The guilt, the grief, the silence, that they all shaped you, tested you, and taught you. And now, as you stand in this new light, you finally understand you didn't lose them, you found yourself. Healing the guilt of ending toxic connections isn't about erasing the past. It's about transforming it. It's about looking back, saying, yes, that chapter broke me, but it also built me. You see, guilt used to be the weight that held you down, but now it becomes the teacher that reminds you what self-love truly means. You no longer owe anyone an explanation for your healing. You don't need to justify your peace or apologize for your distance. You learn that not every goodbye needs closure. Some goodbyes are the closure. You learn that love without respect isn't love at all. And you learn that sometimes protecting your heart means disappointing someone else. That's not guilt, that's growth. The real strength isn't in staying, it's in knowing when to walk away and never look back with resentment. It's in allowing yourself to be soft again, to trust again, to love again, but this time from a place of wholeness, not survival. And if a part of you still feels guilty, let that guilt evolve into gratitude. Gratitude that you were brave enough to choose yourself. Gratitude that you refused to keep shrinking for someone else's comfort. Gratitude that you finally remembered your worth. Because in the end, healing isn't about proving anyone wrong. It's about proving to yourself that peace was worth the price. So take a deep breath, forgive the past, and step forward lighter, freer, wiser. You didn't end something beautiful. You ended something that was quietly ending you. And that, my friend, isn't guilt. That's grace.